Hi, everyone. I'm John Lynn, the founder and chief editor at Healthcare IT Today. We're excited to bring you another in our series of interviews with top leaders in health IT. And our guest today is Matt Coe. He's co-founder and president and COO at DeepScribe. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, excited for this discussion, our ongoing series of ambient clinical voice solutions. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and DeepScribe.
My name is Matt. I'm one of the co-founders of DeepScribe. My background is in technology. I spent a number of years doing data analytics, advanced analytics consulting before diving headfirst into healthcare and starting DeepScribe. So DeepScribe's mission is really to bring the joy of care back to medicine. And we do that today through our Ambient AI scribe that automates clinical documentation, listening to the natural conversation that the physician has with their patient. And really, our vision at DeepScribe is to be able to take all of these conversations that we have every single day with our clinicians and figure out a way to structure that information that can actually improve care and improve outcomes beyond just writing these notes. So a lot more interesting things to come around that in later this year. But yeah, so that's a little bit about myself and DeepScribe.
Awesome. So what's the story behind DeepScribe? How did it come about and become this ambient clinical voice solution?
Yeah, so the story behind DeepScribe really started in solving a problem that me and my co-founder were having in our personal lives. So for me, I was the care coordinator for my mom when she had breast cancer. And I was actually flying down to LA almost once a month just to be with my mom, mainly serving as her translator. She's from Taiwan and doesn't speak English very well. And we have this joke at DeepScribe that DeepScribe started when my mom asked me if I was lying to her about what I was translating. um, at first, I thought she was making fun of me because my Mandarin is terrible, but she was saying, Matt, you're telling me everything's going well, but why am I being treated like I'm already dead? So, obviously that had a really profound impact on me. And I went to Google to get my MD and would come up with 100 reasons why my mom's oncologist wasn't doing her job. And, it finally got to the point where I wanted to transfer my mom's care to somebody else. And that's when I went to my now co-founder, Akhilesh, because his dad was actually a clinical oncologist. And it wasn't until we spoke to him that we really started to appreciate the problem that we're solving today. What he told me was that it's not that my mom's oncologist didn't want to provide that level of care. It's that she was simply drowning in the sea of administrative burden that precluded her from providing that level of care. So we were shocked to find out that clinicians were still using dictation to solve the problem of documentation. We were shocked to find out that they were still spending 3 hours a day on notes when they theoretically had a solution in their hands that was adopted by over 70% of all clinicians. And we thought that there was a real opportunity to innovate in the space using some of the research that Akhilesh was doing at the Berkeley Air Research Lab. So that's where it all evolved. This was in 2017 before LLMs, GPT-4, and everything. So it's definitely come a long way. Today we support thousands of clinicians on their documentation every single day.
Awesome. How does this solution compare to other ambient clinical voice solutions? I could list them off, right? Go check them out at Healthcare IT Today. Search for ambient clinical voice. You'll find 15, 20 of them. How do you compare to a lot of the others on the market?
I think there's a variety of different aspects that distinguishes the products and specifically our approach. I think the most notable one is the fact that we have something called like composable AI. We have a customization studio that allows physicians to essentially prescribe their own preferences on how they want the notes to present. When we did all of our customer interviews, and when we started shadowing doctors that we still do today, the biggest thing that we learned from them is that it's not necessarily that they need the most accurate medical note. if you can provide them the highest accuracy in terms of like the medical integrity of the note, but if the note doesn't sound like something that they would have written, they're still going to spend a tremendous amount of time editing it. And there's other companies out there that accommodate for these preferences by using unsupervised learning techniques to look at the notes that the physicians produce and basically feed that into the model to try to produce something that sounds like them. But those types of techniques requires very, very it requires a lot of data points, a lot of examples, a lot of iterations. And when you look at the the trust, the time to develop trust with your users, you don't really have the time to collect all those samples. So what we built was essentially a studio that allows physicians to basically tell us exactly what customizations they want. We have over 135 different customizations that we've learned through the thousands and thousands of providers that we've onboarded. I would say that's the biggest difference. The other one is really we have our own purpose-built LLM. So when we started the company, we took a human in the loop approach. So we basically had human experts that would review the note before the note was signed off and sent to the clinician to review. And really what they were doing was labeling the data. So over the past almost 4 years, we've amassed one of the largest and fastest growing data sets of natural patient conversations in the world that are all meticulously labeled by these expert human reviewers. And that has really allowed us to build our own kind of differentiated LLM that we call Heal AI, that allows us to do things like the customization studio and allows us to kind of achieve unprecedented levels of accuracy that you aren't able to find using something off the shelf.
Interesting. So walk us through the workflow. What does it look like for a clinician? Is it mobile? Is it the desktop? How are they interacting with the Heal AI, I guess, solution, the DeepScribe solution?
Yeah, so it all starts with the EHR integration. So we have our mobile app that is integrated with the patient schedule, and we're able to load all the patients that the physician has for that day. And when they go in, they basically click the patient's name and press record, and they have an ambient conversation. There's no wake words. There's no leading of the model. It's really just a natural conversation between the physician and their patient. And once they press stop, the note completes in a matter of seconds. You're actually able to view and edit the note using either the mobile app or our portal. And we provide a kind of a variety of tools that they can use to edit the note and kind of streamline the post note delivery workflow. Things such as we have our own dictation algorithm that we built that allows them to dictate any of their changes. We have ways that shows, the provenance of the data, so you can figure out if the data is actually something that is true, but you may have forgotten or isn't. And then once you finish your editing process, you're able to push the note directly back into the discrete fields of the EHR, where they kind of do their finishing touches and review and sign off.
How do you handle the provenance? Is it a point to the recording? Is it the point to the transcription of the recording?
Yeah, there's 3 points of lineage. You have the note indexed to a line in the transcription, and then you have a line in the transcription indexed to a point, a timestamp in the audio recording.
Interesting. And you talked about having scribes in the background in the beginning. How about now? Is it all automated with technology? Are there still humans in the background? How are you approaching kind of tech versus human?
Yeah, this was a really touchy subject with our company, because one of the things that we always want to make sure we're doing is upholding kind of the integrity and making sure that we're deploying these technologies responsibly. And even though our fully automated model was built, a long time ago, we didn't feel comfortable deploying it because it just wasn't as good as our human model. And there were mistakes and hallucinations that the model was making that we really felt that we needed to iron out before we released that product into the wild. However, around 6 months ago, we finally reached the point where our fully automated model was actually surpassing the accuracy of the expert human reviewers. It was funny, the expert human reviewers were sometimes even making the note worse. Um, so we finally made the switch over about 6 months ago, and today, the notes are completed, in a matter of seconds. Um, so yeah, fully transitioned over.
Awesome. And you mentioned some EHR integration. It's interesting you use your app and your portal to kind of do the note and then you push it to the EHR. So talk to us more about the EHR integration. Does it work with all EHRs or are you only working with a couple? How are you approaching that EHR integration?
Yeah, so the EHR integration is something that has evolved over the years. When we started the company, we found we use processes like robotic process automation in order to basically copy and paste our note into the EHR using the same interface that the physician does. We found that a lot of those solutions just don't scale. They're not robust enough to be able to deploy enterprise wide. So now most of our integrations are fully API based, and we're working with the EHRs themselves to be able to push through the back end. And that really makes the integrations a lot more robust. Today we integrate with over 30 different EHRs. Obviously some of the most notable ones we just made a release about. Our integration with Epic, where we're using their smart data elements to make it more compatible with some of the discrete integrations. But we integrate with EHRs far and wide. So the small EHRs, we're open to working with everybody.
I mean, I think it's interesting that ambient voice may be what pushes the HR to finally open up their APIs properly. That's my argument. You don't have to say it, I'll say it. But
It's actually a really interesting thing because we made a post about this earlier last week when we announced the Epic integration. I think it's really awesome that Ambient is moving the industry forward. When we started the company, the only way that you can integrate with an EHR is to push a PDF of the note into the EHR. And that just didn't work, right?
Yep.
And you almost see kind of two schools of thoughts where you have one school of thought where they're open to innovation. They want to really build kind of a robust network of partners and robust group of innovators to expand their EHR's capability. Whereas you have another school of thought where it's, we can build everything ourselves. We want everything to be tightly integrated into our spec. And so I think it's really interesting how you see the EHR industry evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about the clinician experience. Do they have to change the way that they're talking in the exam room to make it work? Obviously we've done a lot of these interviews. They can't, at least I don't think your solution can see yet, and it can't read their mind. So they have to articulate things they're thinking or seeing, but any other things, and talk about that kind of onboarding process that you take with clinicians.
Yeah. So I definitely think like any tool, it's something that you learn to use. And I think one of the things that people learn is sometimes the way that they address the patient or verbalize some of the things that they say. The feedback that we receive is that it's ultimately something that they enjoy doing, right? They enjoy educating the patient, they enjoy sharing with the patient, and the patient also enjoys it as well. And we've been able to kind of prove this through multiple different surveys that we've sent out to both the patients and the physicians. So I will say that there is a change in the workflow, but that change is welcome. However, there are times where you have things that you don't want to verbalize in front of the patient, and that's why with our solution we have something called the multiple recordings feature. So another what a physician is able to do is they're able to record the conversation ambiently, and they can leave the room and add kind of a secondary recording, a third recording, basically as many recordings as they want. We see a lot of physicians use that for pre-charting, post-charting, to read out their impression, and that all gets synthesized into one note. So we have kind of workflows around that if they truly don't want to change the way that they talk to the patient. Our onboarding process is relatively simple. Our users are given credentials to the account. It's super easy to use. We walk them through kind of like a product onboarding. But the most important part is we have a process where we customize the note and the model to that position. So it's not that we just give them the customization studio. We sit down with them and really look at the notes that they produce. We take their feedback and we basically act as one of like their AI advisors to recommend them customizations that they can make with your model. And honestly, like that's really the top of the funnel for our product roadmap, right? It's in those conversations that we have with every single one of our users that allows us to get new ideas on different ways physicians want to customize their note.
Fascinating. And talk to us about accuracy. How do you measure accuracy of the solution? Where are you at accuracy wise? I'd love to hear how accurate is your solution?
Yeah. So there's two ways we measure accuracy. The first way is really the medical integrity of the note. And that process is basically looking at the number of medical concepts that were presented in that conversation and if they were accurately categorized and accurately summarized. And we have a process where we basically take expert human reviewers, like we turned our human scribing competency and turned that into kind of what we call a trust and safety team. And today they're the ones that are testing the accuracy of new models before they're released to make sure that they're not only more accurate, but they're also safe to deploy. So right now we're about 95% accurate in terms of the medical integrity of the solution. And what we really try to optimize for is to reduce the amount of hallucinations that they have, right? So we'd rather miss information than have information made up. And that's really how the model is optimized for. And what we're going to be seeing soon is the ability to show kind of the confidence level of some of the concepts that we have, right? So say there were 20 concepts that are in the conversation. We think we can accurately categorize and summarize 15 of them, but here are the other 7 that we think are probably there, and that really helps the physician speed up the time it takes to actually edit the note. The other type of accuracy that we measure is really kind of like a subjective accuracy. So it's like the look and feel of the note and how many edits are they actually making on these notes. So we track the edits in terms of whether or not it's changing something that's medically relevant, or it's really just kind of a cosmetic change. Say they want to move a section, reword a sentence. And that is what we use to really tune the customizations of it. That we measure in the number of edits and the edit lengths. So right now, what we find is that when you first start onboarding the solution, people are making around 10, 15 edits, like basically character changes on a note. And after around 20 days of usage, you basically get those edits down to basically 0 after they start implementing the customizations.
Interesting. And how are you approaching specialties? Does it work with every specialty? Do you have some that you focused on that work great and others you're still working on? Or how are you approaching kind of the specialty specific aspects?
Yeah, so the model works basically with any specialty. But again, right, I think our philosophy at DeepScribe is that we don't take a standardized approach to these models. Like we don't think that one size fits all here. Mm-hmm. We think documentation requirements and documentation changes provider to provider, visit to visit. So there are specialties that we kind of are more confident and we want to go into even further. So these are like oncology, some of the more nuanced specialties that I think some of the out of the box models can't support today. That's where we really thrive because you can see the work that we've done in being able to customize the model for the more nuanced workflows. So that's kind of our approach to the specialties is I think we perform better when it is a more nuanced workflow and when you need to have kind of like a custom requirement visit by visit or you need to work with us to co-develop a custom solution for you. That's really where we thrive.
Interesting. Well, Matt, this has been fascinating. It's interesting. I forgot what year you said, but it was a long time before before ChatGPT, you were started working on this problem. So, it's exciting to see, the progress you've done and the solution you're providing, kind of the unique approach in a number of ways. So, of course, everyone that watches these videos needs to go get a demo. So, where can people go to learn more and get a demo?
Yeah, so you can find us at our website at deepscribe.ai. You can book a meeting directly with our team right from our website. You can also find me on LinkedIn. It's Matthew Co. My full name is Matthew. And if you reach out to me there, I'm happy to set up a call with anyone that wants to kind of get a live demo from me personally. So yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I appreciate you taking time to share the DeepScribe story and your efforts in this area. I'm with you. I think it's one of the most exciting things that's happened, and it's going to relieve the burden that you talked about when you first got in. So I'm really excited. And so thanks so much. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare IT content like this, be sure to check it out at healthcareittoday.com or search for Healthcare IT Today on your favorite podcasting applications. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thanks, John.